The Italian markets is unfortunately paying the long-lasting, I don't know whether mistakes or habits that the market has had, whereby a number of companies have lagged behind in terms of adjusting to what is a global world. There is a very selected group of companies who have managed to follow that trend, and they are very successful. You can name them Ferrari, Ferragamo, and so on and so forth, whereby they do not depend on a pure domestic or European market. There are others who has been used historically to deal with the local market almost exclusively, and as a result of that, with the market turning down, they have been even more subject to the negative impact that this has resulted. Clearly, we see an uplift in terms of the demand of the market of restructuring. The question is which tools are available and to what extent the market is adjusting to this new situation. Well, I think that again you have to look at the macroeconomics of the country, where you have a large majority of the firms that are much smaller than their European peers, not even mention about the international peers, and with a far more opaque governance. Basically, you have a complete overlapping between shareholding and management, which is very good when you are in a startup phase, is much less functional to a restructuring when you have really to provide a discontinuity in the management style. We have seen, I would say particularly in the last 2 quarters, a material change in the attitude. I would say that currently, when you have a debt restructuring, the banks, which are ultimately the real driver of such restructuring, in a country where most of the debt is bank debt, because very few companies have access to the capital markets, the banks are now requesting almost constantly the appointment of a CRO. Now, the appointment of a CRO also depends on which are the contents of the CRO. I think that Alberto, as you will hear from him, has experienced a very complex case, but at the same time a quite unique situation. The company was owned by a private equity fund. The private equity fund was commissioned by the Bank of Italy, and as a result of that, the stumbling block of the governance was not on the table. Everybody was happy to have a complete new board, totally independent, no legacy with the past, and at the same time having somebody like Alberto or ourselves as a firm, who we are usually requested to play that independent role for the benefit of the company, playing that role without any sort of influence or legacy from third parties who had some past interest and legacy, as I said. And that made a material difference in terms of the ability of the board, Alberto as a CEO and CRO, but the general board, to do whatever was needed in order to basically salvage the company, that otherwise would have not been possible.